Story 1. I read about the technique the military uses to fall asleep fast, where they relax and let go of the tension in each part of their body one by one and clear the mind. I have been using the same method, and it works, though it needs focus. Story 2. I alternate between these based on my mood. I try to breathe exactly how people usually breathe while sleeping. Deep inhale and sharp exhale. I imagine that I'm a toddler and walk around places that I've been to today, trying to picture how everyone would react to seeing me so small. If I know a movie from start to finish, like Home Alone, I try replicating it in my head. Bonus tip. I never try to make my room silent, because then every single sound from outside would throw me off. Instead, I incorporate it into my thoughts, or if there's TV noise from my neighbors, I try picturing how it looks on screen. Story 3. This might sound really lame, but after leaving my husband in January from 2 years of complete stress, I shut down my phone. Then I give my thanks. Sometimes I find myself drifting off before completing what I'm thankful for. Nothing religious, just gratitude. Story 4. Think of a random word. Sunglasses. Second letter is U. Think of a word that starts with that. Uvula. Second letter is V. Think of a word that starts with that. Vinegar. Keep going until the end. Words can't be the same kind in a row like animals, food, or clothing. Random association is how your brain creates dreams and helps file all the information it was blasted with during the day. It's weird but works and better than the old counting sheep advice. Story 5. My husband is pretty much an instant sleepy time tea. He has high body warmth, maximum cuddliness, smells incredible, and is just so comfortable to be near in any context. Story 6. I just lay there scrolling through my phone until I hit the same 3 apps like 10 times. Then I close my eyes and suddenly I'm thinking about that one time I accidentally waved back at someone who wasn't waving at me. Next thing I know, I'm awake and it's 3 p.m. Story 7. Not sure why, but once we let our dogs sleep in the bed with us, I started sleeping a lot better. They're like extra pillows or weighted blankets, and once we're all situated in the bed, I just pass out. Story 8. I read a book or something about my hobbies. For example, I read articles on how to grow tomatoes and spend several days falling asleep early without being able to finish the article. Story 9. I use an eye mask, white noise, and I'm asleep in minutes. I limit my coffee during the day and do some form of exercise daily. I don't use my phone in bed. Story 10. To fall asleep quickly, I usually try to create a cozy atmosphere by dimming the lights and putting my phone away. I also find that reading a good book helps to relax my mind and makes me sleepy without too much distraction. Sometimes, I listen to calming music or nature sounds to drown out any noise and help me drift off faster. Story 11. Close my eyes. I've never had issues falling asleep unless I think about it. If I think about how weird it is to just lie there and suddenly lose consciousness, that kind of freaks me out. Story 12. Start with what you don't do. No caffeine at all if possible. No exercise 2 hours before sleep. Don't eat 4 hours before sleep. No strong light source 1 hour before sleep. Do. Close eyes, sleep. Story 13. This will sound really boring, but I just try to slow down my breathing. I take a few really deep breaths, trying to exhale as long and slowly as possible. Then I just close my eyes, and it almost always works. Story 14. If you can do all of these, it will help tremendously in falling asleep fast and improving your sleep quality. Sleep in a cold, dark, quiet, and ventilated room away from areas where you normally do activities. Cold because your brain needs to drop a few degrees to properly enter the sleep cycle. Dark because light stimulates the eyes and the mind and interrupts the melatonin cycle. Quiet because noises stimulate the mind. Ventilation because your body is actively shifting gears and still metabolically active in cleaning, especially the brain. A big reason why sleep is necessary is due to brain maintenance. Other ways to improve sleep quality and fall asleep faster include maintaining proper sleep posture and using a comfortable pillow, bedding, and blankets to your liking. Delta waves can help sync your brain waves to the actual delta wave frequency needed to fall into deep sleep, along with some sleep aid supplements. Story 15. It does not always work, but I try to slow down my thoughts. I have a tendency to think really fast, and sometimes at night, I will end up thinking of multiple scenarios at once. If I actively focus on not doing this, it sort of helps me sleep. Story 16. I do this weird thing where I count backwards from 103s. I am not good at math, so my brain surrenders pretty quickly. Also tried white noise, loads of videos on YouTube. I can't say it works wonders, but when you're desperate, it's worth the try. Not a fan of ambient lights, though. They give me headaches. Story 17. I put my phone away and just stare at the ceiling for an hour before bed, not thinking about anything. It makes it easier to sleep if you have a clear mind. Story 18. Look up the military sleep method and the Train Your Monkey Mind video. I can fall asleep in a few minutes with these. Slow-paced TV shows like the Black and White Twilight Zone episodes help. Story 19. Put away all devices with screens. Go to bed. Read a book I have read a few times before. Once I find myself having to reread sentences a lot, I put the book away, turn off the light, and usually fall asleep within minutes. Story 20. Slow, long breaths through the nose while you are lying down, falling asleep. 5 long seconds in, 5 long seconds out. Just focus on your breath. Try not to breathe too deeply, just relatively normal breathing. The goal is to slow down your breaths per minute. It also helps to stop using all electronic devices at least an hour before bed. Story 21. YouTube channel John Michael Godier covers all topics on space and science fiction. His voice, along with his choice of background music and images, is enough to get me to sleep every time. When he releases list videos, it can take me weeks to make it through the whole thing. Story 22. Melatonin, Benadryl, and scrolling text-based Reddit threads to read myself to sleep. Also, if you are struggling to go to sleep, limit the caffeine to 6 hours before you go to bed, and try to get some exercise if you are not already. Story 23. I was told about rainbow breathing. Pick your 2 favorite colors. Breathe one color in through your nose, the next color comes out from your mouth. Visualize this and keep it up until you fall asleep. It is good for when the brain is resisting. I live on the edge by choosing different favorite colors sometimes. Also, calculating your optimal time to sleep helps. There is a 90-minute cycle. Try to avoid caffeine for a day and note the times you feel tired or yawn, and aim to go to bed at those times. Story 24. Put on an episode of one of my favorite shows or movies and listen to the dialogue. Doing this helps me shut off my mind and drift away for a couple of hours. Unfortunately, I wake up and repeat the process. Story 25. I imagine a story world and put myself into it as a character. My brain winds down fairly quickly, thinking up the situations, dialogue, and other characters. Story 26. I struggle with this a lot. Also, my partner snores, so if I don't fall asleep before her, I'm doomed. I found playing brown noise on my Amazon Alexa helps immensely. I play it all night, loudly. Story 27. I listen to the same podcast episode every night at half speed, which annoys me so much that all I can think is I'd better go to sleep fast so I don't have to hear this. I also take an ice-cold shower right before bed, currently at 1 minute working up to 2, and I take magnesium glycinate and melatonin. I work out for 15 minutes right before the shower. Story 28. I think of a color, then think about things that are that color. When you can't come up with anything else of that color, start another color. I fall asleep pretty quickly with this. Story 29. I have tried everything. Finally, after years of not being able to fall asleep, listening to lofi music on a speaker and a weighted blanket did the trick for me. Hope it helps. Story 30. You can, but it will take you starting and continuing a meditation practice. Meditation is my friend. It helps me sleep, helps the mind settle, and gives you time to yourself. It allows you to be nothing for a little while. Setting the ego aside, we relax. Our minds settle. We grow to become more compassionate to ourselves and others, even insects. Even the smallest insect recoils from harm. Story 31. I have a story that I progress in my mind each evening. I don't know why, but whenever I start to get going, it doesn't take long for me to fall asleep. It's weird. It's a mental conditioning, I suppose. I built it up over many years since I was a kid and just kept it going. Now, my childhood imagination has expanded into an adulthood one. As long as you don't think about trying to sleep, then you'll fall asleep. At least that is how it is for me. Story 32. Taking really deep breaths usually works for me. I breathe in through my nose, hold for a few seconds, then slowly exhale. Doing this for a few minutes tends to get me to a place where I can finally roll my eyes into the back of my head if I am otherwise tossing and turning. Reading a science textbook also makes me instantly sleepy, no matter the time of day. Story 33. I have a small television next to my bed. I'll put on a movie I've seen 100 times and set the television to turn off in 30 minutes. Most of the time, I'm asleep in 5 minutes or less. Story 34. Barely keep up with home and work life, so when I finally do get to bed too late, I pass out hard from exhaustion and then wake up too early and do it all again. Story 35. I get up early, maybe 6-ish. I work at least 8 hours. Then I go home and work some more on projects at the house for a couple of hours. Then I work out for an hour. Then I eat dinner and shower. Then I watch some YouTube until I get drowsy. I usually go to sleep pretty quickly after that. Story 36. It used to be that being exhausted made it simple to sleep. I could sleep anywhere when I was in the military. Literally, I could lay down and sleep on the sidewalk if I had to. Somewhere along the way, the ability has made itself scarce. Despite my perpetual exhaustion, I struggle to fall asleep at all. Story 37. Take some hits from my CBD/CBN pen and watch a comfort show in bed. Usually, I will fall asleep randomly while watching, then wake up and go pee, then officially get settled to sleep. Story 38. Just heard about this today. When you're lying down, pick a category, types of desserts, for example, and start at the beginning of the alphabet and name items: apple crisp, blondie, cake, etc. Apparently, it turns off the part of the brain that causes your mind to race. I'm going to try it tonight. Story 39. I have a big comfy sleep mask with built-in Bluetooth, and I play podcasts at a low volume. This plus deep slow breathing is working these days. It's the only way I've found to stop my brain from racing. I've always had difficulty sleeping. Story 40. I lie there, staring at the ceiling, mentally reviewing every embarrassing thing I've ever done since kindergarten. Super effective if you're into self-sabotage. Story 41. Slowly relax your muscle groups, one by one, from head to toe. Start with your head and neck, then your shoulders, then your arms, and so on. You will realize really quickly that you are way more tensed up than you realize, and you will never go to sleep quickly like that. Story 42. Close my eyes. One of my cats, sometimes two of them, and occasionally all three, cuddle up around, and we all just drift off together. More often than not, though, I'll be woken up with a cat's rear a couple of inches from my face, which is never the greatest start to a day. Story 43. Put on audio that soothes me happily to sleep. My audios of choice are the Ricky Gervais, Steve Merchant, and Carl Pilkington radio shows and podcasts from 20 years ago. That and get up early in the morning so I'm tired at night. Story 44. I have highly tuned my body to perfection. By that, I mean I've been falling asleep watching King of the Hill for over a decade now, and now just the theme will make me feel sleepy. Story 45. Read and white noise. I can almost trigger falling asleep by reading in bed. I have used it as a tool to do so for years. When I struggle to do so, I listen to white noise and I hyperfixate on it, listening for patterns or loops, almost like a mindfulness exercise. Story 46. I avoid caffeine all day or have it in the early morning. I stop nicotine use 3 hours before bedtime. It also helps to try to go to sleep at the same time every day. I also sleep nude, which helps me sleep much better. Otherwise, I end up feeling restrained in my sleep. I prefer complete silence, but I know having a fan on works well for others. Story 47. Keep your eyes open for as long as you can. Stare at one point in the room without blinking. Soon enough, the urge to close your eyes will put you to sleep. Story 48. Pitch black room, courtesy of blackout curtains and a sound machine, with no electronics, including phone or television. in the bedroom. Establish a small routine before bed, such as a cup of tea or a warm shower. Or have a baby and you just fall fast asleep since you're so sleep deprived. Haha. Story 49. Listening to music helps me focus and actually distracts me from random thoughts. I imagine myself as a fantasy character in a book or movie and create an alternative storyline. Story 50. Caffeine can last in your body for up to 10 hours, but if you're not a coffee drinker, then for me it's a nice relaxing walk outside or even just sitting outside observing out your window the neighborhood, or you can try deep slow breaths. That cold fresh air at night hits differently, and you sleep better at night. Story 51. Bro, I usually just cry. I don't know, I'm not even sad. But imagining stupid things that make me cry helps. You might be waking up and thinking, well, that didn't happen. Story 52. Comfy bed, regular hours, and trying not to think about anything important when going to bed. Also, I am using bed only for two things: no working, reading, or scrolling smartphone in bed. Story 53. Listening to audiobooks. It is a big gamble. Either I stay awake and follow the story for an hour, or I don't even get to listen to the second sentence of the chapter. Story 54. During the day, get out in the sun. No glasses or hats. This builds up natural melatonin. Then, when I lay down at night and close my eyes, I'm asleep in about a minute. Story 55. I had sleep problems for years. Finally, I saw a doctor about it and got prescribed melatonin, which instantly helped. Annoyingly, in England, it's prescription only, but I know in other countries like America, you can just buy it anywhere. I also have a Bluetooth headband I wear in bed and usually put a podcast or something on to help me sleep. Story 56. Think about different things. For instance, I think about a rock, then I go to a car, then I go to a whale, then a shoe, then the sun, then a centipede, and so on. They have to be unrelated for it to work, so not a tree and dirt or a whale and water,